More proud of this group of dynamic activists than I am today. Way to go, team. As we're going to talk about tonight, you delivered the goods for Democrats in Arlington and across the state and across the country. We are reaping the benefits of your efforts now with more to come. I remain extremely optimistic about where we are headed, and we're going to talk about why a little bit tonight. So I want to go ahead and get us started. And let's see. All right, so we are still continuing to resist while social distancing and doing it in fine fashion. Of course, I wanted to point out that like our great contest here in Arlington actually made the headlines of the New York Times, which is something I'm not sure that always happens. So I just wanted to point it out. But the world was watching us yesterday, and it was an amazing, amazing result. And so I want to first start off by congratulating our candidates who were elected here in Arlington. I see a couple of them with us today. Let's give a round of applause for the winners that we know of so far. Mark Warner, Don Beyer, Libby Garvey, Christina Diaz-Torres, and David Priddy. We are delighted to elect and re-elect you to your offices. Cannot wait. Cannot wait to see what you
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
As is our norm, I'd love to give the candidates who are with us an opportunity to say a few words. I can't really see everyone who's online, so I'm going to need Maggie and others to just help me out, but jump on in, folks. And I saw Libby, if you want to go first.
Sure, I'll just go really fast. Can you see me okay? I can't see me. I am assuming you can see and hear me. I said this a number of times, just thank you, everybody. It's absolutely great. And as I'm watching the results, and I think we're all just so bummed about the Senate. And I just keep remembering, and I'll continue to, the quote by Václav Havel, which is, truth and love must prevail lies and hatred, and it will, and that's what we're working for. We got to continue resisting, and I know Arlington Democrats will. Thank you so much for everything you've done. Thank you so much for everything you will do. Onward. Thank you, and thank you, Jill. Great job leading us through all this. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Libby. We really appreciate all of your efforts as well. Want to keep us moving. I think I saw Christina.
Yep, I'm here. So thank you, everybody. It's been a whirlwind 24 hours. We're really grateful to get our results back. Credit goes to the amazing poll workers at Department of Elections who just did really incredible work getting our results back so quickly, and just proving how efficient and wonderful and easy voting should always be. They are the model, and we should continue to expand that around the country. I echo everything that Libby said, feeling a little despondent about the future of our country, but something that definitely gives me comfort is that even if we might have lost the Senate and we have some really contentious races ahead of us, to make sure that we get across this finish line and get Biden to 270, we are very sure that we have not lost the battle for the soul of this country here in Arlington. Arlingtonians came out in really strong force. It was absolutely incredible to see. They voted early, they voted by mail, they voted on the day of, but we sent a resounding message that the soul of Arlington is here to stay, and we are not going anywhere, and we are going to do amazing things together. So thank you all for the privilege and the honor of becoming one of your two new school board members, along with my colleague David Priddy. I'm so excited to serve you all in the years to come.
Yay. Yay. All right. Awesome, Christina. Is David with us?
Yes. I can take it from there, Jill. So thanks, Christina, for that introduction. I am a little bit different. I'm a little more optimistic. And I was talking with Christina earlier today, and she's like, how can you be so optimistic? Well, it's just how it works. But I know that we're going to win this thing with Biden, so that's good. I am in the age of coronavirus where you are stuck to a Zoom call like we are now. It was great that we had early voting in Arlington because we got to actually see people at the polls and interact with the volunteers, and thank you volunteers, poll greeters. I was at 2200 a lot, Clarendon a lot. Marcia was just great setting that up every day. And is Mary on the call, Detweiler? I think I saw her earlier. Well, I don't remember that I know Mary's face anymore because I always see her with the mask on and the glasses and the hat that says no, vote no on one. So she was, Mary, you're great. It was every day. And whenever I would need advice on which poll to go to, Mary would say, this is last week, Mary looks at me, she goes, hey, Dave, I think you should go 2 o'clock to Walter Reed because Madison isn't getting anywhere. And I talked to so-and-so who said, don't go there. And I called Christina. I said, Christina, we got to go to Walter Reed at 2:00. Let's meet there. And next thing you know, and she's like, why? I'm like, Mary told me, trust me, it's going to work. So it was quite a fun experience. And so thank you to everybody. I look forward to this.
Awesome. Well, terrific. We're so excited for you and Christina, and to see the great work that you'll get done on the school board. I know you will be leaders for all of Arlington and all Arlingtonians, and so really looking forward to it. Now, you are also a great straight man for me, David, because I, like you, remain optimistic, and so I'd like to go there next. Oops. And so, look, we're on the right track, folks. You just got to hang in there, right? Joe Biden handily won the popular vote, right? And with still counting. And I know that that's not everything, but I think it bears stating that, as Christina said, the fight for the soul of the nation, the majority of people are with us there. Never forget that. Also, the other reason to be hopeful, the remaining votes to be counted are largely early and absentee votes, where we have seen state by state Democrats have an advantage. So that, if for no other reason, you should be hopeful for that, because we've got states that have turnout left to be counted, and I think it's looking good for that reason. There also are multiple ways that Biden could get to that magic number of 270. He's got a number of paths to do it. And I actually quoted it out here on the slide. I'm not going to read it because it's way in the weeds, but I know this is a wonky bunch and you like the weeds. But by winning a single congressional district in Nebraska, it's incredible. But by winning that single electoral vote, that really unlocked the map for Biden to get to that 270 through a number of different ways. We'll see how it shakes out, but really, there are as every reason to be confident, to be optimistic. We just have to hang in there and wait for the votes to be counted. The system is working, but we've got to make sure those votes get counted. And that leads me to our, if I can get there, social media call to action. Take out your phones, folks. We are action-oriented here at Arlington Democrats. We proved that in spades this election cycle. That has not stopped just because Election Day is over. We remain focused on the future and focused on making sure that we're making that difference where we can. Where we can make a difference right now is helping to protect the vote and to make sure all of the votes are counted in 3 critical battleground states: Georgia, Nevada, North Carolina. These are places where the officials are going through and doing the counts of the votes. They are making sure that any ballots that need to be cured are cured, or they're not doing that, right? So that's the concern. We want to make sure that if a voter is out there with an uncured ballot who still has the opportunity to cure it, to make it whole, to produce an ID, whatever it is in that particular state, that they have the opportunity to do so. So we are calling voters in these states. This is something that the Biden campaign is promoting. I'm sure I'm explaining it poorly, but you get the gist. We want to make sure that if somebody casts their ballot for Joe Biden in one of these battleground states, that their vote gets counted. And frankly, we want to make sure that's true of every American, regardless of who they voted for. Their vote should count. So look, if you're feeling withdrawal from all of the GOTV work that you've been doing over the past couple of months, fear not, pick up the phone and make some phone calls. And the other thing that you could do is, when you pick up your phone, go to the Arlington Democrats Facebook page, find this post, which is pinned to the top of our Facebook page, and share it into your network. We want to make sure that all of Arlington is activated to help voters in these battleground states to make sure that their votes count. So if you could go ahead and share this volunteer opportunity into your network, that will help to generate enthusiasm about this and help Joe Biden to get over the finish line in these last remaining states. Okay, hopefully I have talked about that a bit enough for you can you've actually had the opportunity to go ahead and take that action, and we're going to be hearing a little bit more later in the meeting about actions that you can take, but this one is especially important, and so we wanted to make it our call to action today. But I want to move us into a safety alert. This is more close to home, and I'm sorry to have to convey this information, but what we've learned from a local activist group that also had signs in the median is that when they went to clean up their signs, and they also tried to help us out by cleaning up some of ours, what they found was that in some instances, razor blades had been taped to the bottom of our Democratic median signs. Obviously that they were not there when we planted them, but someone went ahead and added them. So if you are part of the team that is cleaning up our median signs, which we must get taken care of within a week of Election Day, please, please, please exercise extreme caution. Wear gloves, keep your eyes open. We don't want anybody to get hurt while doing that. If you are the sort of person who likes to help out by grabbing a median sign as you see it on the road, thank you. That is really appreciated, but I want you to be careful as well. Safety first, that's been our motto this entire year. This is a new challenge, but we've faced the COVID challenge and we will face this one as well. And I just want you to remember, when they go low, we go high. So just, be safe out there and with these median signs. Okay. That I think moves us on to election reflections. And so, as is our norm for the meeting after the November election, what we do is first we're going to provide some interim stats. These are not final because votes are even in Arlington are still being counted to a certain degree. But just give you a sense of how things went yesterday, and then also to allow the volunteer teams to just talk about how their experience went throughout this election cycle, and to call out some really extraordinary volunteer activities and volunteers who really made a difference. So we'll be opening it up for discussion, led by our major functional area chairs, and we'll be hearing about that shortly. But I do want to talk a little bit about our numbers in Arlington. I'm only going to speak about Arlington. We've not yet had a chance to crunch all the numbers statewide, and some of those results aren't final yet. But in Arlington, we can tell you that over 126,000 votes were cast by Election Day. Pat yourselves on the back. That's more than 4,000 votes, greater than the total number of votes that were cast in 2016. So that is largely a result of the fact that Arlington's registered voter population expanded. And I say hats off to the voter registration team. You made our turnout job harder, but I love it, right? We want to make sure everybody's registered to vote and able to vote. And that number reflects that. So way to go, voter registration team. Of that, there were, there were 105,000 votes, more than 105,000 votes were cast early. That is an incredible, incredible number. It is a giant increase, almost double of the 2016 absentee voting result that we had, which is about 30 some odd percent. That's an incredible early voting record in Arlington. It's the first year we had early voting, and I think we're off to a strong start. Voters responded to the Democratic-led reforms that the General Assembly put forward this past year that made voting easier in Virginia. It turns out when you make voting easier, people vote, right? And so that is terrific. And it really also reflects awesome messaging, consistent, awesome messaging by our joint campaign and our comms teams throughout the year, really pushing early voting, and stellar, absolutely stellar execution by our early voting team. David mentioned it earlier, they were there every single day of early voting, greeting those 105,000 voters. It was an incredible effort. And really something to see. Thank you to those teams for making that outcome possible. Of that number, of that total 126,000 votes, Arlington's total Democratic turnout was 80.73%. That is way higher than the average national Democratic turnout, which is looking at about 50.4% right now. And of course, that's subject to change. And even higher than Arlington's Democratic turnout in 2016. That is an amazing, amazing accomplishment. Hats off to you guys for turning out that Democratic vote in remarkable numbers. Now, I do want to acknowledge, and this number is probably what people lead with, but I'm putting it at the end because you got to put it in context. I want to acknowledge that our total turnout, which was 76.3% of active voters, was lower than our total turnout in 2016 of 82%. Now, what's the context? That's nearly 10% higher than the estimated national average of turnout across the country. So we still outperformed our brethren elsewhere in the country. But it was lower than 2016. And there's some questions about well, why is that the case? Are people less enthusiastic in Arlington? I say no. I think there's a really good reason for it. And it's a reason that Arlington Democrats really should be proud of. Look, for those of you who were in Arlington in 2016, you will remember we had not one, not two, not five, we had 9 paid organizers on the ground putting together field activities throughout the entire election cycle, in Arlington. This year, we had 0. The state party and the national party said to us effectively, you guys got to do it. You guys got to do it for yourself. You've got to deliver Arlington yourself. And I was not mad about that decision. That was the appropriate decision for our state and national Democratic leaders to take, because I knew Arlington Democrats could deliver. And by doing that, by making that resource allocation, where did those 9 organizers go? They went to Abigail Spanberger. They went to Elaine Luria, right? I mean, they went to Jennifer Wexton, and they delivered results where we needed them, because they knew that Arlington could get the job done here, and we did it. So people look at 76.3% and think, wow, that's a shame because it's below 2016. I look at that and I say, that is remarkable. We beat the national average, and we turned out more Democratic votes overall with no support on the ground from the state or national campaign. And instead we pushed volunteers downstate to deliver those results in other congressional districts. Well done, Arlington Democrats. Be proud, whether you worked at a poll in Arlington or in Rico County for Abigail Spanberger. Each and every single one of us delivered those results statewide because we made it possible for resources to go downstate where they were needed. Hats off to you. Don't let anybody else tell you otherwise. I could not be more proud of what this group did in Arlington and for our contributions outside of our borders. So just really put it in context. I mean, I'm blown away. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, so those are the numbers. I'm going to stop yapping because, man, I have been yapping a lot in this meeting. And, you know, I never think that this is about me. This is about the team. And let me first turn to an extraordinary team that led us during the crunch period of this election cycle, our joint campaign. This is the core group of leaders who puts together our collateral, puts together our messaging, put together all of our field activities here in Arlington, put together great events to promote our candidates and raise money to do all of the things that we needed to do. So I know we've got a couple of those joint campaign leaders on the line. I'm going to mention their names and I'm going to turn things over to them. Our elected co-chair of the joint campaign, Barbara Favola. Our co-chair for events and fundraising, Corey Barton. Our co-chair for communications, Robert Julian. Our co-chair for field work, Alex Zins. And our co-chair for collateral, Rachel Feldman. They did an awesome, awesome job. I want to turn things over to them to talk a little bit about their experiences this election cycle. Who do we got?
Sure, I can go first. Wow, we did it. We did it, guys. Huge congrats to David, Christina, Libby. It's really been amazing to work with side by side with all of you and see you reelected and see it through. So huge congrats to all of you. Had no doubt that you would do it, but it's so great to see it come to pass. Another thing I want to mention, we had an incredible joint campaign season this year. We campaigned during the middle of a worldwide global pandemic. It was not easy. We had a lot of concerns, for example, about raising money. We didn't know how well our events would come through, being that every single one of our events was virtual. We had, frankly, some concerns about how well that would do. But I'm here to tell you that as of today, at the end of this campaign season, the joint campaign has successfully raised over $70,000 for this campaign season. And we pulled that off in the middle of a pandemic, in the midst of a lot of national crises at the same time. The Arlington Democrats and our volunteer base was incredibly motivated and fired up. Despite all of the concerns we had, for example, about raising resources, that did not come to pass. We are now in the green for the joint campaign for the money we raised and the money we spent this campaign cycle, and all of that hard work. Shout out to the other members of the joint campaign, all the members of the voter registration team, the early vote team, all the super volunteers who worked to get out, to put on these incredible events and get out the vote. I also want to give a special shout out to the event co-chair team who worked very hard to put on all of our virtual events this year. We, as I said, went into this campaign season a little differently. As all of you are aware, we do events every campaign cycle. The Senior Dim event, the Golden Gala, the Labor Day chili cook-off. We had to switch things up a little bit and do it a little differently, and we pulled it off. So I want to give a shout out to the event co-chair team. So Paul Ruiz, Susan Prokop, Karen Darner, who led the amazing team at the Labor Day event to help put that on. That they led the Honoring a Senior Dim event. It's been 24 hours, guys. I haven't got a lot of sleep. Apologize. So amazing event co-chair team who put that event on. For the Labor Day event and cookbook contest, I want to give a shout out to Susie Lee, Gabe Rubalcava, amazing co-chair team who put that together and who worked to put together our cookbook, which if you bought a gold card, by the way, you'll be getting more information about how and when you can be expected to pick up that cookbook. Also, a big shout out to our Centennial Celebration team, Kim Phillip and Phoebe Carlson, who did amazing work to put together that really exciting event. And also our most important partner in the county, the Arlington Young Democrats, who we worked together to make sure that we once again had a very successful event this year. That event co-chair team did amazing work, and I'm very, very proud of them. They did incredible work, and we had some really great events. I think, for me, the thing that I was most excited about, really enjoyed being on this team this cycle, was just seeing all the volunteer enthusiasm. There were so many people who were just so fired up and this is, I've been in the Arlington Democrats for about 4 years now, and I think this is the first time I've ever seen this level of volunteer enthusiasm. I mean, we had no trouble recruiting volunteers and signing people up for things. People just really wanted to do the work and really wanted to be involved, and that was an amazing thing to see. So that really really motivated me this cycle. When I was feeling tired and exhausted and didn't know how much more work I could do. Just seeing how fired up these incredible volunteers were just really gave me a pep in my own step. Also, as I mentioned, we did things a little differently this year in terms of the Senior Dim and Centennial events. For our Senior Dim event, we had a really remarkable time honoring Sharon Davis and all her incredible work with the party over the years. Learned so much from her and all her experiences. And she gave a lot of helpful perspectives about living in the Trump era and, giving an example of what it was like to be in the Reagan era and, what different times we are at currently today versus then. And it's always helpful to have that perspective from people who have lived that. So that for me was a remarkable highlight. The Centennial event, a lot of great perspectives from some of our historical leaders here at Arlington County, folks who have been involved in the party for quite some time and are able to give a perspective, to really help you understand where the party has been and where it's going. We had such incredible speakers for these events. Was really, really, really pleased about how many speakers were just really excited and wanted to come talk to the Arlington Democrats. The other thing we had, if you missed it last weekend, we had a Biden Caravan event that we successfully put on for South Arlington. Lots of enthusiasm. We had a lot of folks coming over to the when we were getting ready, we were setting up. A lot of Baby Trump was very popular, as I'm sure you all know. So it definitely gets attention. That was exciting as well. Just give an opportunity for us to show, for Democrats to show how fired up and enthusiastic they were about our candidates. That was really incredible. So I think, I think I've already gone over the highlights, but the challenges, again, I will say, an all virtual campaign, raising money during a pandemic, and honestly getting out the vote in the middle of all this. It was a challenge, but as Jill so eloquently talked about just recently, Arlington Democrats came through. All of you came through. So shout out to all of you. It's been an incredible privilege to serve on this joint campaign this cycle. I, for one, have learned so much about this party. I've learned just how valuable our folks here are and how much they know and how fired up they are. It's just been an incredible honor. So I just want to thank the other members of the joint campaign team. Thank you to Jill and Maggie for this opportunity. Looking forward to all that comes next and helping once we get some sleep after this election, looking forward to the gubernatorial. And so we're fired up and ready to go. So thank you all. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Corey. We're fired up too. I'm glad to hear you talking about the gubernatorial race already. I didn't even dare raise it yet. but next year's going to be exciting. We really appreciate your efforts. I think Alex is also on the line.
Hello. All right, if you just want to go to the next slide. So as your field co-chair again this year, this is a very different year than I anticipated when I signed up. I expected to have, pre-pandemic kind of set up with many different launch locations and canvassing across the county, and that was not to be for us this year. But I took that on as an opportunity to do something in Arlington that I wanted to do for a long time, which is control our own targeting for things. So we weren't beholden to the state, and we got to kind of choose what we wanted to do. And so we set up lit drops and specifically targeted some of the precincts down in South Arlington that we have known for a long time usually need a little bit more work put into them in order to get our vote totals up there. And so I really think we did make a difference. We ended up placing campaign material on over 26,000 doors and by more than 350 volunteers. And the feedback from the volunteers has been amazing. Everyone was really grateful for the opportunity to go out and actually do something, go outside, do it in a socially distant manner. We had some super volunteers who were taking multiple packets a weekend and really walking those neighborhoods and trying to get people out. Some folks even canvassed. Some people even had the option or chose the option to talk to some voters, and they were really grateful for that opportunity in a year where everything was mostly on phone banking and text banking around the country. So I really appreciate everyone who came out to do lit drops. And I want to thank Nancy Pilchin, Natalie Hall, and Jill Cayazzo for being our lit drop hosting sites for people running up and down their porches every weekend, as well as our turf cutting team, which is Scott, Deborah, Tim, and Eric, and maybe some others as well, who in the background were slicing and dicing this county into routes for all of our volunteers to go walk. So I appreciate everyone for still coming out during this crazy year. You can go to the next slide. We also had amazing volunteers come out to do our yard sign distribution. We had a really good amount come out for the medians, and then a crazy amount of volunteers come out to set up signs at polling locations. Obviously, yard signs have been a bit of a topic of discussion this year with some of the vandalism, both on the medians and at the polling location, but we persevered and we replaced those signs and we got them where they needed to be. And we put a ton of signs in supporters' hands to put on their lawns. All that was up and down Senator Favola's porch for those. It was a really great effort. There was a huge line of people and cars at Mary Detweiler's on Monday night. It looked like we were having a block party because of how many people had showed up to pick up polling location signs. I don't think I stopped moving for about 45 minutes as I was trying to get all the volunteers through. So I really appreciate it. I want to thank Senator Favola for hosting supporter sign pickup, Mary Detweiler for hosting all of the median and polling location distributions, Carol Burnett for keeping me on track and for and replacing signs, getting signs to supporters, as well as Mark Teal, Maggie who helped with distribution, Rick Schumann who helped with putting things together as well, and all the volunteers who came out to distribute those signs around the county. I want to go to the next one. We do have to pick all of them up. So I think all the polling locations are set because we had everybody drop them off after election night last night, but we do need all the yard signs picked up from the medians this week. And we will be disassembling them starting at 9 a.m. on Saturday morning at Mary Detweiler's home. So we'll be taking them apart. We'll be recycling the paper ones and appropriately disposing of the rest of the materials. If you feel like pitching in, please find your favorite medians or ask me where you should go, and go pick up some signs during the week this week. The more we do every day, the less we'll have to do on Saturday. So if you're feeling antsy and want to go outside, great activity. Though, as Jill said, be very careful of the potential booby traps that might be on those signs after the reports we've got this week. But if you want, the address to drop them off is there on the slide. And then we'll venture out on Saturday to pick up any of the ones that are left. But we do need to pick them up because all of our neighbors in Arlington are going to get very grumpy with us if they are out there for too much longer. So we do ask that everyone, if you can, help out and pick those up, though I know some folks have already been out there doing it today. So I think that's it for my update. Oh, I do want to thank also Bob and Lorraine for running our mailed sample ballot process. They mailed out, I don't know the number, I should have gotten the number from you, Bob, but they mailed out, we did a bulk mailing of the sample ballot, and then they kept us on track with all the late requests to mail people who requested a sample ballot, because we wouldn't be able to get them one otherwise. And so I appreciate the effort that they put in to do that as well, to get that out there and help all of our candidates. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Alex. And I totally agree. Getting that blue sample ballot in everybody's hands is an absolutely essential function of the joint campaign. And I think we did it. That bulk mailing with that huge absentee turnout number. We put the investment in because we know that that's where it counts. And then Bob and Lorraine and the team following up to do the absentee ballot mail outs on a rolling basis after we got through that big bulk. Makes a difference. Everything makes a difference.
Jill, before you go forward, so I missed one person I want to say thank you to.
Sure.
I just want to shout out to Carol Burnett for her amazing leadership on Dollars for Dems. Also, Carol, I know you've been involved in so much this election cycle, but I wanted to make sure I would be remiss to make sure gave a public thank you for all the hard work you did on Dollars for Dems. We more than met our goal for Dollars for Dems this year, and all that hard work goes to Carol Burnett. So thank you so much, Carol.
Carol,
it really isn't all me. A lot of people hand addressed envelopes and a lot of people stuffed envelopes. I just coordinated them. So thank you to all those who did all that hand addressing stuff.
Great call out, but I don't want you to deflect too much of the praise and glory, because in addition to Dollars for Dems, Carol led our median yard sign efforts, and she was out there replacing yard signs as fast as the Trump supporters could take them down, and it was really remarkable. When Carol joined steering committee, she came on as our special projects chair, which I sold her on the job as like helping me with the stuff that needs to get done. And you have come through in spades, to the point where my husband jokes that during the pandemic, aside from our immediate family, Carol Burnett is the person he has seen the most. Coming to our side yard, doing whatever is needed just to get the job done. So thank you, Carol. Always working behind the scenes.
Thank you, Jill, and it's a pleasure to come by and see those cute little dogs.
One of them may be making an appearance later in the slide, so stay tuned. All right, let's keep us moving along here. We did have some pictures that we had from various joint campaign events. Joint campaign, do you want me to run through these? Do you want to do it however you'd prefer?
You got this, Jill.
You do it.
All right, so we've got a baby Trump appearance there. This was at the Riding with Biden event that we put together. Don't Boo Vote Caravan, and baby Trump made an appearance there, as well as a few other places. I want to do a shout out to Colton Gibbons. He's a precinct captain who took on the role of Team Baby Trump lead in the sort of last few weeks of the election. Greatly appreciated. He is much better at social media than yours truly, and it was great to have somebody sort of manning the baby Trump. We had a lot of fun on Columbia Pike and here in Pentagon City. So always good energy where the baby Trump is. Up above, we've got Mark Warner visiting one of our early voting locations, giving an elbow bump to a voter. And below, that's actually my favorite picture of myself from the from this election cycle. I asked folks to pull out the stops, which included standing on street corners with pom-poms and please vote signs. And I would never ask you guys to do something that I would not do myself. And so there you are. It is proof. I promised pom-poms and cheerleaders, and we delivered them to Arlington voters. So just one of the many volunteer activities during this very strange election cycle. All right, that's our Joint Campaign Comms Director, Robert Julian. Not sure if he was able to join us. He has a job on the Hill, and I think they're quite busy, just, making sure that our votes get protected. But there he is. Also, we have a picture from our caravan. And mostly we just like the messaging there, but that was a fun time. More shots from our caravan. I see our school board member Barbara Cannon, Delegate Rip Sullivan there, along with a couple of other of activists. There's Craig Hines, who never saw a caravan they didn't want to participate in, looking good. Libby was there, looking good with her car. This was the group. This is the caravan group. When we arrived at Aurora Hills early voting location, we took a nice group photo there. Parissa, some of you may have seen Parissa at the polls. She wasn't able to poll greet for us this year because instead she was out going to each and every polling location, making sure that voters were safe from intimidation in her role as Commonwealth's attorney, and we greatly appreciate those efforts. One of the many activists who cheerleading and joining us at events. Maggie's dog, who is a dog for Biden. All right, that's the Joint Campaign Election Reflection section. I want to move things over to Precinct Ops, which had a really big day yesterday, and turn things over to Carol Fontaine.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for all that all of you have done. This has been an amazing year, and I totally agree with Jill. I think that this is our finest hour. We really came through. There were so many challenges, and I want to share with you some of what Precinct Operations was doing yesterday. I want to let you know, slide. We had 833 poll greeters. Can we, there we go. 833 poll greeters. Don't worry, I'm not going to thank all of them here now. We had about 34,500 voters. I think that was the number that I got from John and Frank. We had a terrific hole filling team. There were 5 people at least on them, on that team, and they set up a whole bunch of poll greeters to substitute and to fill holes. We have 14 circuit riders who did an awesome job circling around all of the precincts and reporting problems. We have 20 area chairs who all year long have done a fabulous job of getting their precincts ready, and they were there particularly for the messenger drive and recruiting poll greeters and just working so closely with their precinct captains. We have 110 precinct captains. Jill is going to ask you guys to elect 2 more, I think, later on. It was just a great day yesterday. We all worked very hard. We had 5 people on the Precinct Ops lead team. Fran Jackson is to me what Maggie Davis is to Jill. I don't know where I'd be without her. Howard Salatke did by himself, basically, I think with a lot of help from his wife, Martha, stuffed all the poll bags with the sample Democratic ballots, and there was so much else that went into those poll bags. Mark Teal was a huge help. He was basically in charge of the whole filling team. And Eric Wolf, many of you will know him from previous years. He came on board and was in charge of the circuit riders and did an outstanding job. I forgot to I forgot to congratulate Libby and Christina and David. We're so glad to have you back, and particularly to have Christina and David joining the school board. Jill, there's a bunch of slides here. You're good at going through them. You want to just pop through? I don't know all of the people. I did label some of them.
Okay. Yeah, well, look, I mean, as I said at the lunch, our virtual lunch today, you know, for those of you who know me, I began, as many people do, as a precinct captain. That's where my roots are. And so there's nothing I like more than looking looking at pictures of poll greeters on election day, because it's like the precinct captain's march. And I just love it. So we've got a bunch of pictures of poll greeters that we're going to run through because the enthusiasm is absolutely palpable. Before I do that, I just want to underscore that 833 number. Folks, that is insane, right? I think we get inured to just the level of Democratic enthusiasm and volunteerism in this county, but to have 800 people show up to do anything that doesn't involve free food is remarkable. To have them show up to stand in a cold school parking lot handing out blue pieces of paper or pointing to a pile of them is absolutely incredible. That is just goes to show just the determination of the Arlington Democrats, and just I'm just blown away. And to have this precinct operation organization be able to be capable of organizing that level of volunteerism, 13 hours of voting, 54 precincts is unbelievable. So hats off to you guys. And we're going to see some pictures from those precincts. And I was downloading as many as I could. So apologies if I missed your picture, but I tried to grab the ones I saw. All right, so here's a first-time voter who was in line being greeted by a precinct captain. That is awesome. 5:30 at Yorktown. That is awesome. I mean, that's America right there. Love it.
She was so happy to vote the first time. She was jumping up and down.
That's amazing. And I love also, we're going to see this as we go through, but you'll see here the first glimpse of our Vote Blue masks, which we debuted during Takis Karantonis' special election in July. But those were handmade by Area Chair for Center East, Sarah McKinley. She made hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them in preparation for Election Day. And they're just great. So we'll see them as they go along. But thank you, Sarah, for that. There literally is a role for everybody. Every little bit counts. Okay. All right. Here's the Jefferson. Feel free to jump in here, Carol. We got Terry and Louise at the Jefferson holding down the fort with balloons. Nice touch. Love it.
Yeah, we had a great turnout there.
Excellent.
Six poll watchers and our observers. At one point, we had 7 people.
No, this is not Jefferson Precinct. This is the Jefferson in Taylor Precinct.
Ah.
Yeah.
Confusing.
Yeah. Sorry.
I'm sure both were excellent.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey. You know this person?
I do. She lives there. So yeah.
Okay, Carol's mom voting. Love it. Okay, two sisters voting and poll greeting for the first time together. My gosh, that is amazing. That is amazing. All right, we've got a family poll greeting at Kenmore. That is my polling location. Nice. There's those beautiful masks. Okay. Oh, this was a scene I saw a lot of yesterday. This is the precinct ops team in their Zoom breakout room, managing the poll greeters and solving problems all throughout the day. There's Hina Ayub, I believe certainly a precinct captain in Metro West, out there at the polls. Looks like Central Library. JJ. Out there poll greeting. I don't know everybody and I can't recognize everyone with the masks, but wow. I'm proud to know y'all. There's an example of the sign damage, but we overcame because there's another sign there waiting. All right.
And I do want to point out these wonderful vests. I mean, people were wearing the vest, which was great.
Yeah, absolutely. We bought those last year as part of our capital acquisition plan. And I think they've worked out real well, especially in the dark.
Yeah.
Here you go, McKinley School. Good looking poll greeters, loving it. Here we are in Roslyn, looks like.
There's Richard.
There's Richard Skinner. All right. I see Natalie. There may be 2 Natalies there.
I think that might be Sheriff Beth.
That's Sheriff Beth Arthur and a terrific poll greeter behind her there. I see Senator Favola. All right. Oh, Sam Kersner, Debbie, precinct captains, and maybe Sharon.
And Sharon Swindon.
Yeah, maybe Sharon. Yeah. Okay, we've got a couple of Vidya and Matt, both excellent precinct captains there. No, shout them out if you can tell. I can't always recognize everyone with the masks. All right. Ah, there you go. And I love the Hablo Español mask especially. All right. There's a school board member, Barbara Cannon, was making the rounds at the polls yesterday. Just Sasha, just there's a area chair, Betsy Lyon. All right, so that's just some of the picks I was able to find at poll greeters in Arlington. I just, hats off to you guys for making it happen. I'm going to move us along to voter support, turn things over to Marcia Johnston, who led an incredible team. I mean, who knew that you guys were going to be up to your eyeballs in early voters this year, but you managed it.
Yep.
Beautifully.
Hey, okay. I don't, so this is just shouting out to all of you guys. I mean, first of all, just all of the vice chairs that we were lucky to have found with help from Carol and I'm trying to think who else. Sandra Brody showed up at Nancy Pilchin's and January, I think, volunteer event. So Paula Potts, just awesome, kept me on track, always just an amazing organizer. Phoebe also with her graphics and kind of getting the voter registration stuff started. Early voting team, sort of my trio there, Paula, Thede, and Kevin and Matt Rogers. Just getting going. Kevin really did like the back end, all of our, mobilized stuff and getting lists out every day that we had on site so people could see who was there with the phone numbers and emails and stuff. So there was never any question about who was coming. And if they didn't show up, we never had, I don't think we had maybe, I don't know, a handful of no-shows, and it was always for a good reason. Paula was wonderful with sending emails to volunteers and just interfacing with everybody, always happy, sunny. People loved Paula. And Sandra Brody, really a special shout out to Sandra as well. Like I said, it was a lucky day for all of us when she just jumped in with both feet. And for everything from working on the voter information notebook with me and a little bit Mike King and getting the Spanish version done, to then working with Lisa and a couple of volunteers, Elizabeth Onder, who will be on my next slide too, and I think Evan and Jesse Aronson, yes, on Lisa's team, who got the website translated. So just again, Sandra, and then Latino Caucus obviously took note. So, and that was as it should have been. And so she started working with them and doing more great stuff. Just an awesome, awesome person. And rise to the polls again. And I will thank Nancy Pilchin. I do believe it was Nancy who brought Mary Byrne and Anne DeLeon to my attention as people who were going to do the rise to the polls. This is right around the time again of our volunteer event in, I think, January. And those two women just ran with it, took it, and just most professional, really just amazing. Writing, COVID policy for taking people to the polls, and I have a little photo, just kind of exemplary in a moment. Okay, next slide. Yeah, in addition to vice chairs, all of these, this is a long list, I realize. I hope some of them are on. These are the Stalwart volunteers who, as Detta said, were recidivists who came at least, 4 times. Elizabeth Onder again was, for the last 10 days, she basically was there with myself and my husband, who's not at like 7:30 in the morning, opening up every day. And also these other ones, Emily Schaefer also did that, Joyce Adams, and Mary Detweiler has already gotten a shout out for, Mary was also there pretty much every day, doing her one woman campaign for on the amendment. Again, all of these folks, David Van Wagner, his wonderful little early voter, until we got the ones that certain benefactor that Jill, I believe, we had the early voter buttons. David Wagner was making them. He had his early voter buttons that we had up there for a while until we got the really giant supply of stuff, of buttons that everybody loved. Very coveted, those buttons. Again, so these are all from, also some from Walter Reed, from Madison. I had the site leaders gave me their best volunteers at those satellite sites. And also I wanted to shout out on voter registration. People who really, really helped Paula Potts do our pop-up ideas for voter reg, Betsy Lyon, and again, David Van Wagner, who also rode around Arlington on his bike with somebody else, I'm afraid, whose name I do not know, young woman, I know that, rode around Arlington on their bikes, basically going up to families in parks and making sure they were registered to vote. So to my mind, that was just amazingly above and beyond the call. So again, thanks for that. Okay, next slide. And this is the little one I referred to earlier. Thanks for sticking up the roll of the polls up there, Jill. This was, again, about 4 days after we started early voting in courthouse. And this gentleman right here needed a ride. And so Anne, one of the two leaders, she was there in 15 minutes and gave him a ride. So then that was, like I said, 4 days after we got started. So it worked, and I know they were there. This is early. Okay, next slide. Yeah, these are just a few photos. This is early at the Mega Mart CVS on Columbia Pike. Sandra and myself, we were normally keeping our masks on. We took them off for the photo. But we just got started up there, and it became such a great site. I think Christopher Concepcion referred to this on another meeting. It became this, people knew that in the community, in the neighborhood, that they could go to the Mega Mart, strip mall there, and they could register to vote. It became a thing. So that was very successful, and that should continue to be a site, I hope. Next slide. And I just put this up as a sample of, again, the outreach that we worked on for voter registration. I was very excited about this. I think Jill made reference to the number of translations of the sample ballot we had on our website. And this was in part also due to Paula Potts. She used to work at the Free Clinic, and Solomon Habde is I think the executive director there. Anyway, we wanted to do some with the Ethiopian American community in Arlington, and he directed us to Dama Ethiopian restaurant. So this was like the place, more of a like social gathering. I mean, people really go there a lot. So we went there a few times and registered the owner's sister. So anyway, and just lovely people. And this was one, Teman Worku did this graphic, like, I don't know, like 2 days beforehand, and showed up with balloons. And I mean, it was just amazing volunteerism all around. Next slide. Might be it. Oh, and just kind of the voted early stuff. Jill made reference to all the people who came out to vote. And this guy right here, he was an Egyptian gentleman, and I can't remember his name right now, Saeed maybe. But you can see he was so excited, had to get his photo taken with his bumper sticker. And the voted early signs were very popular. This young lady with her dog, she's sort of communing with her dog after voting early. And that might be it. I don't know. Next slide. Oh, thank you. I like Carol's. I always like Carol's thank you slide, so I grabbed it. One that's similar anyway. To everyone. It just was. We did it, and worked out perfectly.
Well, awesome job, Marcia, and the entire team. I can't say enough about the early voting team. You guys really pulled it off. So just thank you so much. 60% of the vote. Unbelievable.
Okay.
All right, moving right along. Wanted to give Outreach an opportunity to just provide some reflections. We are going to be hearing from Outreach again later because Outreach is always on, right? It doesn't matter whether you have an election impending or not. We always want to be out there in the community. And so we're going to be talking a little bit about what Outreach has got going on in the future shortly, but wanted to give them an opportunity to reflect upon this election as well.
Awesome. Good evening, Arlington Democrats. Before I get started, great news out of Georgia. We're down to 44,000 votes. There's still over 100,000 missing votes, or outstanding votes, I should say. And they're mostly in Fulton, Savannah, and Atlanta. So we're looking pretty good. We can't call it until it's over, but things are looking great. So before I head into the brief outreach update, can we head to the next slide, please? I think this might be somebody else, Jill.
No, well, admittedly, I tossed some slides into the different sections as suggestions. So let me take you through these slides. So I just wanted to give a shout out to the Outreach team. We did have the sample ballot available on our website in 6 languages. That was due to the work of first beginning with the Latino caucus, which helped with Sandra's great leadership with translation services to put together the Spanish language ballot, which is something we've done for a number of years. The difference between this year and all previous years is that we couldn't print the things fast enough on election day. It was unbelievable. The number of calls that we got from precincts that are saying they needed more Spanish sample ballots was incredible. And I attribute that entirely to the Latino caucus. We will, by an order of magnitude, adjust upward the number of Spanish sample ballots that we print from now on, because I have no doubt that you are going to continue your fine efforts into the future. The other translations, huge shout out to the AAPI caucus, which is the Asian American and Pacific Islander caucus. They teamed up with the Fairfax version of that caucus to help produce partial translations in Vietnamese and Chinese, Korean, and Arabic. And yesterday, a call came in from a circuit rider asking, is there anything we could do to help an Arabic speaker? Do we have any resources? And they thought the answer was going to be no. I know Eric Wolf, when he relayed that question to me, he thought the answer was going to be no. And I was like, boom, AAPI caucus, there's your Arabic sample ballot. Have a nice day. I mean, that is awesome. So that is the power of outreach and making sure that we are paying attention to underrepresented communities, making them feel welcome. I mean, how great did that voter feel to have that sample ballot available to him or her on their phone in the language that they could understand. So just really tremendous support that Outreach provided. Outreach is not a transactional, quote unquote, aspect of the party, but its contributions are greatly felt throughout the voting season. Also, this is more for our Latino caucus, which was calling people all of the time, which I think did result in the uptick that we saw in the interest in Spanish sample ballots. So I just wanted to give a tremendous call out to their field efforts on the phone this past year. And Outreach was also responsible through the Blue Families program for our hashtag Biden Rocks. We wanted to make sure that we were being safe at the polls and give voters options in terms of how they picked up our sample ballot. Some people took pictures of our brand new sandwich boards with the sample ballot. Other people felt comfortable grabbing a sample ballot from the hands of a poll greeter. And still other people wanted to just be able to grab that sample ballot off of a pile on a table or a chair, which is great, but how do you keep those things weighted down, especially when it's windy, which it was yesterday? Enter Blue Families. Families around Arlington did a great arts and crafts project, put together 60 rocks with I love all the designs on it to greet voters and to keep those sample ballots in place. So again, outreach making the difference in different ways that you might not think about and finding ways to engage folks who may not otherwise find a way to participate in the political process. There's Mike. I love Big Mike, so I got to have a picture of him. So there's Big Mike poll greeting in the background there with our great delegate Alfonso Lopez. And then also shout out to the farmers markets team. You didn't have as many activities this past year as we had anticipated, and as you always do, but it was a harder year for you to be at the farmers markets. I see you. We saw your great efforts. Much appreciated. So hats off to the farmers markets team getting the word out there about Joe Biden and our great Democratic ticket. All right, keeping going with the John Lewis Memorial Weekend of Action. This was a voter registration effort in honor of John Lewis. This was led by our brand new this year Black Caucus. They got into some good trouble helping to drive up those voter registration numbers that made life difficult for the joint campaign, but we love it. Good trouble. That's exactly what it was, helping to register voters. That was an awesome effort by the Black Caucus, much appreciated. That moves us to the Beyond Arlington election reflection. I believe that we've got Steve Baker and Rose Fabi on the line. I want to turn things over to them.
Thank you so much, Jill. Next slide, please. And thanks so much, everybody. You know, usually when the meeting comes along, I give a fairly brief update of our activities in the immediate future. And there are just so many different component pieces of people out there working hard to do beyond type activities that if I have not done so enough throughout this year, I want to take a couple minutes right now and just kind of thank all the different groups that did so much hard work and did so much great work in 2020 to help bring this election home. And I'm in the David Priddy camp. I'm going to be optimistic that we did win this whole thing, in part because I think the numbers are starting to look better for us, and in part because we just need to win this one so bad. I'm counting on it. So this is a kind of a list of some of our many partners or some of the many other groups that have been out working hard. Next slide, please. First and foremost, I want to acknowledge the Arlington Young Democrats, who are always fantastic. They turned out a lot of great numbers. We heard Matt Royer give us some pretty fantastic numbers in steering last week, and I think last month as well. I'm not going to repeat any of those numbers because I know they have an update later on in this meeting. But what I will say that I know about the Arlington Young Democrats is that they were doing Beyond Arlington work several years before there was a Beyond Arlington. Not 100% sure when they started doing their campaign invasions. I would guess 2014, 2015, maybe it was earlier than that. But the YDs have been out in front of this longer than there's been a Beyond Arlington. And really, if anything, the model that we use is kind of based on their campaign invasion formula. So hats off to you guys for having a fantastic 2020. And thank you so much for all the work that you do to help get Democrats elected outside of Arlington. Next slide, please. You know, if the YDs set the bar, I think Blue Families Group and Josh Kaplitz really have raised the bar. Josh has been doing Beyond Arlington type activities ever since the beginning, from as far as I remember, from November 2016. And 2020 was just a fantastic year. Josh really turned out an enormous volume of work. It was incredibly impressive, and I think he really deserves a round of applause, and was just, I think, our 2020 Beyond All-Star. So Josh, thanks so much for all that you do. He's probably going to give an update later on in the meeting, so I don't want to repeat any of his numbers, but you guys know all the things he did between postcards and voter registration and voter protection and phone banks and just so many different things. The project that looked most fun was the rocks, but he did so much hard campaign work as well. Josh, thanks for all you do. Next slide, please. And while we're thanking people, there's a ton of people inside Arlington Democrats that are so responsible for making the trains run on time for Beyond Arlington, and I want to thank them for all their help. Certainly Lisa Backer for being my tech guru. I'm not tech illiterate, but I definitely need tech help when I need it, and Lisa was always there and always helpful and supportive, and her assistance was invaluable. Also, Summer White, who made sure our emails got out. Summer, thank you so much if you're on the call. Your help likewise was invaluable. My good friend Nancy Pilchin, who kept sending us volunteers throughout the year. It was hard keeping up with Nancy. I did try to reach out to all of them and get them to sign up for an event or sign up for our weekly email. Hopefully it worked out all right. Scott McConnell, who helped with that project by creating a virtual phone bank of our volunteers, really kind of helped us turn the corner on recruiting people for our events. Scott, that was a lot of help. And Bonnie Kartzman, who was the volunteer that made a lot of those phone calls to our volunteers. Every time Bonnie got on the phone, more and more people just showed up for our events. So lots of great folks that helped us with Beyond Arlington. Thanks, guys. Next slide. And of course, I got to thank my deputy chair, Rose Fabia. Rose is absolutely one of the hardest working Democrats in Arlington. It's impossible to keep up with all the different things that she's doing. For Beyond Arlington, she helped organize a lot of our collaborations. And towards the latter part of the summer, I know she really attached herself to the web campaign. Sadly, he is behind. I'm not sure if they've called that one or where it is, but he right now is definitely behind. I think Good maybe declared victory on that earlier, but I know Rose just worked her heart out and did a great job organizing for the Dr. Cameron Web campaign. She did a dozen other things for Democrats everywhere. I know she made Texas calls, and the list just goes on and on. All the while that she was part of the Medical Reserve Corps in Arlington this summer at the height of the pandemic. So Rose, thank you so much for all that you do. Next slide, please. So just a little bit about Beyond Arlington. I know you guys already know, but we have three kind of defining principles that determined what we did in 2020. First and foremost, we always tried to work directly with a campaign on the thought that Arlington has a surplus of volunteers and we want to connect directly with Democratic candidates to help them get elected outside of Arlington. Once we did that, we would, to the best of our ability, do their priority activities, focus on the things that the campaign said they needed us to do most. That always turned out to be canvassing and phone banking. Well, not canvassing this year. Latter part of the year, it became lit drop. Those were our focuses, and we always tried to target strategically because campaigns are always an exercise in the allocation of limited resources. Always wanted to make sure we were doing the best job we could and having the greatest impact we could. So we would target campaigns that we felt needed us the most. It's so hard to do that because there's so many great campaigns out there. There's 1,000 great candidates and 100 different nonprofits doing amazing work to register voters, protect voters' rights, and so forth. It's so hard to target on things like this, but we did our best and limited ourselves to 10 or 12 different candidates for 2020. So those are the principles under which we operated. Next slide, please. We did have a number of collaborations with other groups. First, we did the Arlington effort with Blue Families early in the year. Sadly, that got curtailed by COVID. And I know Rose went down in the first shift to register voters in North Carolina. I know that helped. Later in the year, we adopted a couple North Carolina state houses with Blue Families, Ricky Hurtado and Terrence Everett, who both won yesterday. So props to those guys and for Josh to identifying the districts early in the year. We did a couple phone banks early on for them and had a dedicated phone banker who did nothing but for 3 or 4 months made calls for Ricky and Terrence. Hopefully we're able to contribute to the outcome there. We did the Cal Cunningham calls. This really wasn't a direct collaboration with Blue Families, but as we cast about early in the year for a couple US Senate races, Josh had made a really compelling case for North Carolina. So we made that one of our states, and I think made a pretty good number of Cal Cunningham phone calls early in the year. Indivisible Waterfront, we did our inaugural Dr. Webb phone bank and Zoom meeting call, where we got to meet the candidate. That was fantastic. Got a lot of volunteers motivated to do calls for Dr. Webb. Moms Demand Action has been an annual partner for us. We did 9 phone banks with them this year. Moms has been a great partner because they always had volunteers available and wanted to do phone banks, but didn't want to worry about necessarily putting the phone bank together. We had phone banks at the ready, but always needed volunteers. So that partnership always was very mutually beneficial. And we did a couple phone banks with Human Rights Campaign and did a little bit with Virginia Democracy Forward in the last couple of weeks. Again, not a direct collaboration, but once we realized that Pennsylvania was a place where we needed to put some energy, Virginia Democracy Forward is a group that had been focusing on Pennsylvania all year. So we definitely relied on their expertise and knowledge to figure out where we needed to go in Pennsylvania. Next slide, please. So you guys know the rest of the story. We had Tuesday and Thursday phone banks. It was really a peculiar campaign year. Nothing worked like it has in any other year. This is the best picture I can give you of our activities this year, because this is where we were twice a week. Zoom was a challenging format for phone banks. Want to get people to stay on during the phone bank. Everyone would have to mute themselves, but you could chat through the chat feature. And the positive side of it was that you could definitely get elected officials to come in and do a talk at the beginning of your Zoom meeting a lot easier. So that worked out well, and we tried to leverage that as much as we could. Next slide, please. Canvassing wasn't canvassing this year, which was a heartbreak for me, but September came along and campaigns did start doing lip drop. No door knocking, no carpooling, no supporter housing. It was really hard to tell what we had going on out there in the districts. We had, I think, 30 or 40 people that signed up for lit drop, and many of them did communicate that which days they were going down and what shifts they were doing. So I know we had people out there. I know we had people in Pennsylvania the last 2 weekends. I know we had a bunch of people in the 7th. Rose can tell you how many people we had out in the 5th because she was out there organizing those events. So we did what we could with 2020 lit drop. Next slide, please. That might be our last slide. So just again, thanks for everybody that was involved. Rose, do you have anything you want to add or share about the web campaign? Maybe not sure if we have Rose on. Again, thanks for everybody that helped out. Thank you, Rose, for all that you did. And go fight win. I hope we bring this win home. I will say, so at 6 p.m., Abigail Spanberger did declare victory. If you haven't caught up with that news yet. So that was great news. We were waiting on absentee ballots in Spotsylvania and Henrico. And I think when the Spotsy votes were counted, she took like a 5,000 vote lead. I'm not sure, 100% sure that they're through counting all the ballots, but she did declare victory at 6 p.m. So I'll take that as good news. Very, very grateful that that happened. Slightly smaller a lead than she had 2 years ago. Hopefully redistricting resolves some of that issue for her, but that's a conversation for another time. Again, thanks everybody for all your help. Jill, back to you.
Thanks so much, Steve and Rose and the entire Beyond Arlington team for projecting Arlington's organizing might to where it was really needed in the Commonwealth and beyond. Totally appropriate shout out to the Blue Families group led by Josh Kaplowitz, which really took on a Beyond Arlington mission and complemented those efforts. It was an amazing, amazing job. And I know we're going to hear from Josh later, and I didn't want to steal his thunder about postcards and other things, so we'll let him talk about it when we get to the outreach section. But just absolutely, just hats off to you, friends, for the boots on the ground that you provided in races where it mattered. Just thank you very much, and phones in hands, boots on ground and phones in hands. Thank you. I do want to keep us moving to our post-election action. The work is never done here at Arlington Democrats. We will fight every race and rise to the occasion. As I mentioned at the top of our meeting, and I want to reinforce here again, the way we can help Joe Biden the most in these coming days is to make sure that we're helping voters have their votes counted in key battleground states. We always post these slides to our website, and so you'll be able to access these slides and these links very easily. And I hope we'll be making a lot of phone calls to ensure voters are able to have their votes counted in these states. So that is something that if you're looking for something to do while we wait it out, this is the thing to do. If you are looking for a place to hand wring while we were waited out, we've also got that for you. Our terrific membership chair, Izzy Taveras, had the idea that there's probably going to be a lot of people who are nervous as we wait the results of the early and absentee voting. We want to make sure that we're here for our membership. And so Izzy put together a couple of events that we're really looking forward to. Tomorrow night, Thursday, we're having a post-election happy hour at 6:30 p.m. No agenda, just grab whatever beverage you'd like. Join us on another Zoom like this, and we'll just chit chat, and we'll hand wring over the CNN results, and we'll see where we stand there, and we'll commune together as a Democratic family. Similarly, the next day, Friday, we are hosting a post-election morning mug at 10 a.m., which is unusual for us to do during the week. But again, we want to provide opportunities for folks to get together and talk with other Democrats as we see our way through this very different time for our country. The links for these events are available on our calendar page, arlingtondemocrats.org/calendar, as well as our Facebook event page at Arlington Dem. So you can check it out in either place and sign up for these Zoom events. All right. As prefaced earlier, we are also looking ahead to the future, and outreach's work is never done. So I want to turn things back over to Mike, Big Mike, to give us an update about what all is going on in outreach, because surprisingly, there is a lot still going on. So take it away, Mike.
All right, awesome. Thanks, Jill. And just a quick update, we're down to 37,000. So everybody keep the faith. Before I get into the outreach update, I also couldn't let this moment pass with also saying thank you to the Arlington Dems. This is a defining moment for us. We're going to look back in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years from now, and our kids, grandkids, relatives, family members, neighbors, they're going to ask us, hey, what did you do to restore the soul of America? And we're going to be able to say that we were part of a special group, a special group that made an impact all across the nation. We are small but not mighty. And that special group of folks is everybody on this call and all the other volunteers that have already been mentioned. So thank you all so much. All right, so I wish I could say we were here at the finish line, but actually we're just getting started. The work continues, the price is high, but the reward is great. It's a quote from Maya Angelou. Before I kick it over to Josh, just want to say how proud I am of the outreach team overall. We've grown so much, accomplished incredible work this year, really uncharted territories at the beginning of the year, like many of the other functional areas. Our team has had thousands of voter contacts with communities that are often and historically underrepresented. So proud of the inclusion and diversity work that our committee has already started. It's not easy work, but it is necessary work. We saw examples of communities of color voting for Trump, and it's an opportunity for us to lean in with genuine curiosity, not just listen, but listen to understand. And it's an opportunity for us to strengthen inclusivity so that everyone not only gets a seat at the table, but a voice as well. So with that, I'm going to kick it over to Josh to talk a little bit about the amazing work he's done in Blue Families. Josh?
Thanks, Mike. Next slide. There we go. You can flip it over to the next one. I just have one slide. So I don't want to repeat all the very gracious things that Steve said about our collaboration, and I echo everything and right back at you, Steve. We did start the year with a big plan to go down and register a bunch of voters in person in North Carolina. We got one trip in before COVID hit, but we pivoted and just went all in on the postcards and letters. And the final tally was just over 193,000 postcards that we wrote primarily to North Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Texas, Virginia, with a few to Michigan and Wisconsin. So we spread the love. I am heartbroken that we didn't flip the North Carolina Senate seat. Apparently, I don't want to prejudge. There's still an outside chance, I guess, that some of those late votes break very hard for Cal Cunningham. But yeah, that was a hard pill to swallow. But I'm very optimistic that Joe Biden's going to pull it off, and Georgia is going to be hopefully a big part of that. So I want to be forward-looking here. I know that we're all exhausted and need a couple of seconds to catch our breath, but there's going to be one, if not more, runoff elections in Georgia. It may feel a little bit like a long shot, but if we get two runoff elections and we can kill two birds with one stone and go all in, there is still a chance that we could flip the Senate. And that just the payoff of that alone is enough to try to invest everything we can in that race. So I am already sort of thinking about whether we can do postcards there. I know that there's going to be postcarding efforts, making calls, and then I'm also I had the brainstorm tonight that maybe we need to do some road trips down there. It's a 10-hour drive. But I know I've talked to a couple friends in Atlanta who might be interested in hosting, obviously in a COVID safe way. Let's not go too crazy, but this could be for all the marbles, and especially if Biden wins Georgia, it tells me that the votes are there. So we did Arling-Tonk, so why not Arling-Toga? So there you go. So the priority is, yes, the Georgia runoff, in no particular order, the Georgia runoff, sleep, a little bit of family time, make Virginia even bluer in 2021, make sure that we hold on to the governor's mansion, and hopefully expand our majorities in the House and Senate there. We know as Virginians, we don't get any time off, and there's still a lot of work to be done. And frankly, the thing that I just started thinking about this afternoon, because my mind just cannot rest, but is we got 3 Senate seats that are open, that are in states that Joe Biden either will have won or come very close to winning. Open seats, we know that they're much easier to win than dislodging incumbents. And they are, and 2 of those are states that we have a lot of experience working in. So, my thought is, let's start early. Let's register, do what we were going to do this year, and register voters in North Carolina. My big fear about why Trump came so close this year is because Republicans were off registering voters while we were in our basements, and that's not something that I don't know. I guess we'll find out how significant that was, but let's not make that same mistake again. So yeah, I want to start thinking ahead. Blue Families will be there. I know Beyond Arlington will be there as well. So I wanted to give kind of a forward-looking message, and that's all I got. So Mike, right back at you.
Awesome. Thanks, Josh. Looking forward to that good work. I'm going to transition and switch gears to business and labor. Just a quick update from them on the next slide. You can go to the next one. So they are still focused on COVID. It's still top of mind for our business team. They're highly focused on the road ahead for our small businesses, while also encouraging support from all levels of the government. Separately, our labor caucus typically meets on Thursday at 6 p.m. So If you're starting to get some FOMO in the coming weeks or getting some political withdrawals, please reach out and join one of our caucuses. All right, next slide, please. All right, AAPI caucus, our Asian American and Pacific Islander caucus, has been very active, extremely proud of all the work that they've done this year. Their next meeting is going to be on 11/21 at 2:30 p.m. Everyone is invited to join that. Next slide, please. Disabilities Caucus, I know Dan's on the call, so Dan, thank you for all the work that you and Mike are doing. It's just incredible. I love that you're just getting started, love the momentum. Their next meeting is still to be determined. Next slide, please. They have a couple upcoming things that they're focused on, so still working on getting a guest speaker for discussions on the ACA and what it means for people with disabilities. They're focused on strategies for how people with disabilities to vote that occurred in the past. If you want to catch that meeting, it is posted on the Arlington Dems YouTube channel, so feel free to check that out. Many of our caucuses are also in the beginning process of setting up meetings with all of the elected officials on the ballot next year, so stay tuned with that. Next slide, please. All right, Interfaith, Fatima, go ahead and take it away and talk to us about all the good work you're doing.
Okay, great. Thanks, Mike. Wow, let's see, where do I begin? Let's start with our next meeting, which is going to be on November 8th at 1 p.m. at our regular time. Anybody that's interested that is not on our regular distro, please send me an email and I will put you on our distro and make sure that you get the regular invite for the meeting. So next slide, please. Okay, so I just want to go through really quickly what I know we're not supposed to talk about what we've already done, but I think these are so important that I think I think they really should be mentioned. Since the last time we met, we produced a really awesome, and I know you guys are tired of hearing about it, but I think it's so wonderful that it really bears repeating. We produced a promotional video in a very short period of time, starring local faith leaders to encourage people to get out and vote. And one of the biggest challenges with working with faith communities, and I don't know if you guys know this, is many of them are nonprofit organizations, so they are very hesitant to work with political organizations such as ours. So you really have to, it's really walking a fine line to make sure that they are engaged, but that they remain nonpartisan in, to a large extent, to the extent that they're able to, and still, engage with us successfully. So I managed to get a number of the faith leaders in our communities to put this wonderful video together. We had 7 people, and they just did a tremendous job. We put it all over social media. I sent it to a couple of people on the Biden team, and they really liked it too. And they said that they would also circulate it. So I think it got quite a bit of coverage. So next, let's see, we successfully mobilized the interfaith org. So same thing, got a lot of different interfaith organizations in Arlington and beyond. Actually, most of them were actually beyond Arlington. They were in the DMV, and many organizations that I sit on the boards of, and that really saw how important our work was, how they engaged with us, because there was quite a bit of discussion because some of them are nonprofit organizations about how much they could engage. And we agreed that they could do so on the basis of values, because their values aligned with ours. And so I was able to successfully get them to make phone calls, I connected many of them actually with Josh's group, making phone calls, doing phone banks, texts, letter writing, the whole thing. So I'm well overdue in sending them all a wonderful thank you note for all the work they did. Let's see, of course, we promoted the Biden faith-related events on our social media, such as Believers for Biden. And we held an issues forum. Going forward, what I'd like to do is we would like to invite more volunteers to join our team, because we have all of these ambitious ideas, but we need people, we need more bodies to make them more effective and to do more activities and to be more effective in the community. So again, I would encourage anyone that wants to join our team to get in touch with me. And we're going to be having our next meeting next Sunday. What I'd like to work on, and it's not on the slide, just really quickly, I'll mention it, is I would like to get more engaged in promoting policy initiatives that benefit the interfaith community. I know that we did one for refugees. We wrote a resolution, but I'd like to go a little bit beyond that and actually have maybe some boots on the ground, send people to Richmond. I don't know. We'll see. Again, it depends on how many people we've got and how many activities we want to do. So I'll leave it there. Thanks, Mike, and I'll kick it back to you.
Awesome. And no, thank you, Fatima. I love to see the evolution of what's going on with Interfaith. You've already set the bar very high for the rest of the outreach team. So I'm so excited to see what the next chapter looks like for you. Also really thrilled to hear about what recruitment could look like. So stay tuned. We're going to discuss some ideas at our quarterly outreach meeting on doing some recruitment drives and some ads on Facebook. So,
Mike, and if I could include one other thing that I'd also like to start promoting and helping interfaith candidates. And when I say interfaith, I'm talking about candidates that are they are of minority faiths that are running, and I think it might be helpful to engage with them and see how we might be able to work with them as well. So just another thought. Sorry.
Awesome. Sounds good. No worries.
And the video was awesome.
Sorry?
Awesome. I agree. All right, move right along. We go to the next slide, please. Our Latino caucus has been active just like many of the teams. Don't worry, Jill, technology happens. We saw some incredible engagement in the Latino community and especially along the Pike. I love that. Thank you. I love that. Marsha, you talked about that. It got to the point where, we had communities of color actually reaching out to our caucuses for help on election day and questions about their ballot and how to register. And so that is really the result and the product of all the work that's been done this year. So I can't say enough good things about that. Next slide, please. Yep, definitely already talked about that. So just all the engagement that was done on the Pike, incredible job. Sandra is on the call. Thank you, Sandra. You're a rock star. You're killing it. Next slide, please. All right, awesome. Just as Joe mentioned earlier, the Latino Caucus has been instrumental in a lot of our bilingual outreach. So incredible work. Looking forward to more languages getting onto our website as well. Spanish speaking poll volunteers and the Hablo Español mass, all really, really incredible and all brand new for our committee this year. There's a picture of Takis and of course, Sandra and a couple of our other volunteers. Next slide, please. All right, many of you know we've been working on a juvenile detention center series. We're on the second part of that, so stay tuned. We're still putting together the date. It's going to be early December. That's going to be in conjunction with the Black Caucus. Speaking of the Black Caucus, there wasn't a slide, but Black Caucus is focused on reaching out to the Black Heritage Museum, and we're actually going to put together a virtual tour of that museum. So because we're in COVID, and we can't necessarily go to the museum, we're going to work possibly with AIM, and we're going to figure out how to do a virtual tour of that museum. So stay tuned with that. Next slide, please. All right, Women's Caucus, just real quick, we'll have a meeting next week on the 12th at 7 p.m. Anybody, everybody, all are welcome to join. I think that is our last slide. I'm going to kick it over to Dan, who's going to give us the Arlington Young Democrats report. Exciting things going on. Our elections are coming up. So Dan, take it away.
Yeah, can everybody hear me? Cool. Yeah, so Arlington Young Dems report. You can go ahead and hit next slide. I want to thank all the amazing volunteers who dedicated so much time this election cycle. This is a small selection of the close to 200 people who signed up to campaign with AYD. This cycle, we did an amazing amount of work that I'm going to get to in a minute. And Matt's going to help me announce that as well. This election season was, as we all know, unlike any other. And I know that this was brought up earlier, but we generally do like to go do campaign evasions and things like that. But we really weren't able to do that this year. So we really wanted to stay as dynamic as possible and meet our volunteers where they were. So at the beginning of this, we set out to have events at least one weeknight and one weekend every week through the election. We'd often actually have multiple events on multiple opportunities throughout the week, just to make sure that all of the volunteers that wanted to help out had the opportunity to. So we ended up holding, next slide, please. We ended up holding 30 events over 8 weeks in 7 states, Arizona, Florida, Maine, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Montana, and Virginia. I think I'm missing a couple, but those are the ones that we really focused on. We also, in election season like no other, we also had turnout like no other. So I am proud to say, actually, let me transition over to Matt, and Matt can announce the AYD results. Matt?
Thanks, Stan. Yeah, we obviously were out in force this year. One thing that was not on there, those were the official events, but officially we operated in 14 different states across, not on there is Iowa, Texas, Georgia, and also Colorado and Kansas. So we did some work out there as well, but we made, hold on. We made 7,672 phone calls and sent 100,018,395 texts. So we had a total of 126,067 voter contacts this election cycle, which last year we texted everybody in Arlington, but we got to a huge number. But this year we were able to make a huge impact, not only here in Arlington, but also across the state, across the Commonwealth, and in the United States as well. I also would just like to shout out the fact that we here in Arlington, we were able to elect Young Dem to the school board, and we also had 3 other Virginia Young Dems running for various seats across Virginia as well. So it was a very big year, not only for the top of the ticket, but also for our Young Dems down the ballot as well. So very happy about that. And then for Virginia Young Dems, with this, we were able to make 569,026 voter contacts for the entire statewide chapter. So very happy with how that turned out. And we are very enthusiastic of taking this and running with it next year. So very, very happy for the support that y'all gave us this year, and happy to see what comes next in 21.
Cool. Thank you so much, Matt. Next slide, please. So yeah, I updated that earlier. So yeah, 1,025 or 100,025 total voter contacts. Sorry, my dog's asking to be petted right now. This was an amazing cycle. I'm so proud to have worked with so many amazing volunteers. It was great to see all of the young leaders come out and support all the candidates up and down the ballot. And once again, congratulations to Cristina Diaz-Torres for her election as a Young Dem. And finally, I also just want to say the AYD e-board elections will likely be held before the next general body meeting. So, or before the next one of these in December. So this is the last time I'll be speaking to you as AYD president. It has been an absolute honor to serve for the past 2 years. I truly believe that iron sharpens iron. I said this last week at steering, but I'll say it again. Having such an amazing partner in RL Dems has been invaluable to the work that AYD has done over the past few years. And we've had so many incredible joint ventures, and I'm so looking forward to seeing what the 2 organizations are able to accomplish going forward. I want to thank Jill and Maggie for their incredible leadership in truly unprecedented times. I think that a lot of state leadership would be lucky to have them, and we are so fortunate to have them as our local leadership here. All of the amazing volunteers with Arl Dems have just been so inspirational. Seeing your devotion to the Democratic cause has inspired me and kept me going when otherwise I may not have had the opportunity or strength. And I've learned just so much from being able to work with so many of you. I was watching The West Wing earlier today, and Jed Bartlett said, we have a lot of challenges ahead of us, but every time we think we've measured our capacity to meet a challenge, I look at the people around me and I look at all the work that you've done, and I'm reminded that our capacity to meet challenges is limitless. So I know we have a lot ahead of us, but I know we will be able to accomplish it together. Onward and upward, and thanks, and back to you, Jill.
Thank you, Dan, for those remarks and for your really remarkable leadership of the Arlington Young Democrats. I know your term is up. You've been a tremendous partner. All of the Arlington Young Democrats make us better and inspire us every day. You give us hope. So really, thank you. Look, that is an incredible number, incredible work by the AYDs. You remain and always will be our most important partner in the county, and I'm proud to stand shoulder to shoulder with you in this fight.
Thanks, Jill.
All right, I want to move us on to a voting item. I put it at the end because I wanted to make sure we were able to get through all of our election reflections, but we did have one voting item, and it's an important one. We are always delighted to be building out our ranks each and every month, and we are welcoming 2 new precinct captains to our ranks. In Ashton Heights, we have Christine O'Donnell, and in Lyon Park, we have Andrew Parr. I am looking for a motion to elect these fine individuals to become precinct captains.
So move.
I heard a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right, that motion has been properly seconded, so we're going to go ahead and take the vote. So if you could please go to the participant tab in the Zoom, look at the bottom, and you will see a little green circle button that says yes. If you could please click that if you are in favor of the motion, that would be great. And Maggie, because I can, as usual, see nothing, if you could help me out with the vote, I'd appreciate it.
That passes.
Terrific. All right, welcome our new precinct captains, and there they are. We love having new members of the family, so I'm looking forward to working with you. All right, school board update. We are very fortunate that every month we hear from one of our local elected leaders. We alternate between county board and school board. This month is school board. I'm going to turn things over to our fabulous school board chair, Monique O'Grady.
Thank you so much, Jill. Hello, everybody, and congratulations, and thank you for the amazing work to help get us where we are today. And I know that we will have much more to celebrate as the day and the days come along. I just want to start off with our first slide here. And on the first slide, I just want to pause for a second because this is going to be the last time you're going to see this picture in an ACDC update. That's because we have to say goodbye to 2 of our beloved members of the school board. That would be Nancy Van Doorn, who has served us for 6 years and has made it her passion to serve our students of color and students with disabilities, and also Tanya Talento, I know a very dear friend of Arlington Democrats, who has been serving for 4 years and has cared so much for our English language learners and non-traditional learners as well. And Tanya gets the award for being the chair who's gone through the most, having to deal with over 1 year a retirement of a superintendent, the choosing of an interim superintendent, the process for choosing a new superintendent, going into COVID, as well as going through 2 budgets because of budget concerns. So we want to just say thank you to them and thank them for their service and for everything they've done for Arlington students. Okay, next slide. And with that, we want to say congratulations to David Pretty and Christina Diaz-Torres. We look so forward to them joining the school board. I've already spoken to them and they are ready to get.
I was done. I just had a little quick piece. It turned out I didn't even have to.
Carol, go on mute.
Oh, sorry.
Go on mute.
There in case.
So I'll just say that David and Christina are ready to hit the ground running, and we look forward to working with them as soon as they are sworn into office. We'd also like to say thank you as well to the Arlington Democrats for helping us get the school bond approved. That bond was successful last night, and it will do a lot for our Arlington community, including providing design funds for future space for our growing population, ensuring that we can make important infrastructure improvements, including HVAC, which we all know is very important at this time, expanding kitchens in some of our schools, making our schools safer with more secure entrances. And if we go to the next slide, then I can properly thank our school board, our school bond co-chairs for this year, Lois Kuntz and Miles Mason. All right, next slide, please. We want to give you an update on our return to school plan, and there are two major things that I want to share with you today. And that is that today we returned 236 of our students with disabilities to our 32 sites in our schools. It was a very exciting day for staff and for students to be able to return to in-person instruction. And those are for students who had some of the hardest challenges working with our distance learning. We're very excited to welcome them back, and we had a smooth transition today into our schools for those students. The other thing I want to share with you is that just on Monday, we announced that unfortunately we have paused our return to school for our level 2 students, and those students you can see on the slide include our pre-K through 5th grade students, and that also included those students who were English learners and students with disabilities, as well as our high school students who are in our career and technical education program courses where they need some they benefit from hands-on learning, and as they look to be try to be certified in particular hands-on projects and work. But we are going to be continuing to engage those students through distance learning. And as we continue to look at the challenges that are given to us through COVID, we will look at having them potentially come back in January. And that aligns with our level 3 students who are our middle school and high school students, when we hope to also return them to hybrid and in-person learning. And during this time, while we continue to pause, we will continue to look at ways that we can support our students in ways that they need if they are having trouble with our in-person learning. So I just wanted to share that with you. It's a sad time, but we want to be safe, and we want to make sure that we are keeping the safety of our students and our staff at the forefront. And while we are making that pause, we will continue to provide quality distance learning for those students. And we have made sure that our students all have devices and internet connectivity, as well as we will continue to provide free meals for our students at our food sites. So we are continuing to work on those issues for our students. Thank you so much. Next slide. By now, you are very familiar with our school board action plan. These are many of the things that we as a school board have been working on to try to ensure that we can get done in this year. And I will be going over 3 of the items in the following slides. So we'll move to the next slide for time. The first thing I want to tell you about is our APS relationship with school resource officers. We have been working on the plan to reevaluate our relationship with our SROs. And the most important thing I want to share with you is that we currently have applications for our work group, and that application period remains open until Monday. And so we would encourage anyone who is interested in participating in that group to please put an application in to serve with other members in the community, as well as our staff members, students, family members as well, who are concerned and want to look forward about the future of SROs in or out of APS buildings. And that group will begin its work in December, and will be able to announce what their recommendations are to the school board and the superintendent in June. Next slide, please. We are also working on new boundaries for our elementary schools. Tomorrow night at our school board meeting, the superintendent will make his recommendation on elementary school boundaries, and we will be able to hear from the community on December the 1st. We will have a work session on November the 12th, and the school board will adopt new elementary boundaries on December the 3rd. Next slide, please. And lastly, because we do know how important racial justice and equity is to our Arlington Democrats, I wanted to share with you some of the things that we're doing currently around that same issue. We are working to become the first No Place for Hate school division in the metro area. That is a program run by the Anti-Defamation League that helps our students ensure that they're respectful, understand equity, and can practice inclusion. So that is a very big program that is being run by our Chief Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Officer, Erin Gregory, and that will make a difference for our community and the climate in our schools. Next, I wanted to share with you that we are working with Arlington County and joining them on their dialogues on race and equity, and we'll have the opportunity to participate in virtual conversations. And we're very excited to be able to work with them as our county talks about issues that impact us around race and equity. And then lastly, I want to share with you that we had a wonderful equity day of learning. That was a day where we had our staff participate in opportunities to learn about equity, unconscious bias, cultural competency, and it started off with 5,000 employees attending a keynote session. And then they had the opportunity to participate in various breakout sessions around those issues. And I had the opportunity to participate, and it was very enlightening, very interactive, and a wonderful opportunity for us to have more conversations about race and equity. And then I'll go to the last slide. If you want to stay engaged, want to know what we're up to, please feel free to sign up for our newsletters. You can speak at a board meeting. You can attend our virtual open office hours, and you can always write us at Engage, and the address is there. And please follow us on social media as well. You can also leave us a message or write to us at school.board@apsva.us. Thank you so much, Jill, for the opportunity. Go Dems.
Thank you, Monique, for treating us to that overview of what's happening in the schools. So important, and it's such a difficult time. Thank you for your leadership through this pandemic and keeping our kids safe while pushing forward with their education, which is so important. So thank you. Okay, upcoming events. Just a couple of things to flag here. These are not our events, but these are events that I thought might be of interest, and I really want to throw some light on a couple of them. First, we've got an event by a nonpartisan organization that's just going to review the results of the Virginia election. They do it every year. This year it'll be via Zoom, so a lot more people can participate. So wanted to throw that information up there. If you'd like to get a breakdown of what happened with the election results in Virginia, more so than my analysis of Arlington, but the whole state, this is the event for you. The link is there. We will also have these slides available on our website so you can check it out. This is the event I really want to throw some love at. It's nonpartisan, and I want to be really clear about this. We don't have anything to do with the organization of this event, but this event is a cornerstone of the Arlington community. The annual Turkey Trot is super fun. It goes through Arlington community, and it's always a great time. This year, for public health reasons, they are taking it virtual. And so while that's a little bit disappointing, what I don't want to be disappointing is the amount that they're able to raise, because the Turkey Trot benefits such important volunteer and community support organizations throughout Arlington. So if you've not already signed up for their virtual Turkey Trot, which is going to be, please come join me on my treadmill as we get through this. God help us all. I really encourage you to do that. ArlingtonVATurkeytrot.org is where you go to sign up. And here's the secret. You don't actually have to run. You can just sign up. But your funds would be greatly appreciated to support this institution in Arlington. And I just want to give them a shout out. And I hope that everyone will attend that virtually. Okay, that brings us to the end of our meeting. I want to end where we began, which was just a huge thank you. I also want to pause because we thanked a lot of people, but I am sure as you were sort of sitting here cogitating that we missed a few people. And I've seen some chats about it. So let me just pause here. Who else needs to be thanked who went above and beyond?
Okay, I have to this is my bad. Thanks, Jill. It's Marjorie Hobart and her senior calling team. The only thing I can plead is that I hardly ever hear from her. But I will say that she has 50 volunteers and they called 3,000 people over the weeks during the summer and later. And so I apologize terribly for that. And also Jill Birdwhistle and Diana Gordon on voter protection in Arlington. I know they both were up at courthouse and other places almost every day. and in different, they were somewhere every day, and at courthouse for a lot of that, but also at different locations. And I appreciate very much all of their work. Thanks.
Yep, absolutely. The voter protection team was active here in Arlington. They also went beyond Arlington to help out Fairfax voters. Strong showing. And Marjorie just gets it done. So thank you so much for the senior calling effort. Super important to make sure that we're connecting with our seniors, especially during these challenging times, and making sure that they're connected to the rides to the polls when they need one from our fabulous rides team. So thanks for that collaboration and your leadership, Marjorie. Anybody else?
So someone's mentioned this in the chat already, but I just want to give a shout out to you, Jill, and to Maggie. You two are the folks who are working the most. You are the steadfast leaders that we need. Whenever there's a problem, you're the first ones to respond. Whenever there's something that needs to be done, you're the first ones to be there. You are just amazing, and I don't think that this party could ever run without the two of you, and we could not deserve such wonderful leaders as you both. So thank you so much.
That's kind. It is a labor of love, and I could not agree more about Maggie's contributions. I'm out in front a lot. She's behind the scene operating the Zoom and helping with everything. So I appreciate the recognition that for Maggie and for me, it's an absolute labor of love to do this. You inspire me every single day. The stakes couldn't be higher. I'm in this because I just look at what is happening with our national leadership, and I say if everyday folks don't stand up, no one will. This is a thing that I can do. But working with you is just a complete privilege. And I look forward to what we're able to accomplish, in next year, and we'll just keep on going. So thank you, Arlington Democrats, for just a tremendous election cycle, for being who you are, for showing up for Arlington, for Virginia, for the nation. You delivered a win for our slate of candidates here in Arlington, but your impact is felt much beyond Arlington. So thanks, guys. I will see you at our terrific happy hour tomorrow night, when hopefully we'll be celebrating some additional pickups. I remain optimistic and determined that we will help ensure that every vote is counted. So stay calm, stay optimistic. Let's get it done. Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
Good night. Ciao.
Have a good evening.
Stay safe.
Night, everybody.
Plan for
Good night.
Georgia.
Thank you all.